Hello. Today we're going to be talking about making a circle graph for our Let's Party project. The point of making this circle graph is going to be to display the portion of the budget that each category equals that we spent. So for our total budget, most of us had $1,000. Some of us had $1,100, some of us had $1,200, but today I'm focusing on the groups that had $1,000. You'll be able to apply the same skill with $1,200. I'll show you as we go through. This is how I spent my money with my project. For food, I spent $355. For entertainment, $215. The venue, $173. Decorations, $67. Other, meaning something that didn't fit into one of these four categories, was $85. And money that I did not spend was $105, totaling $1,000. This is going to be our circle graph that we're going to be using a little bit, and I've got my protractor ready to go, but we'll come back to this in a second. So, for our first category with food, I spent $355. I set my form up as a ratio like we've been kind of going with fractions and with our conversions. I've got my fractions set up for $355, money spent, out of the total $1,000. And I set this equal to this other fraction, and our denominator is 360. The reason I have 360, because this circle has 360 degrees. So if we look back at our other picture, this circle is 360 degrees. So if I'm trying to make a circle graph displaying $355, I'm going to make it equal to 360. And I don't know how much of the value is the circle. So I'm going to solve for x by multiplying each side by 360 like we've been doing with our equivalent fractions and solving with ratios. Do the same thing over here. So now I've got 360 times 355 all over the total 1,000. At this point, to save time, I'm going to allow for calculators. So I'm going to put in 360 times 355, and that equals 127,800, all over my same denominator of 1,000. I'm now going to divide my numerator by my denominator, and I get 127.8. Now, yes, I could make you find that portion on the circle. Right now, we're going to round to the nearest whole number, and I'm going to round 127.8 to 128. So I'm going to round. Since 8's larger, we can make that one go up. So what this means, what our answer means is 128 degrees of our circle is how much money we spent on the food budget. So we're going to go back to our circle graph, and we're going to find out what 128 degrees looks like. So I'm going to estimate by looking at my circle. I'm going to find the center of it as best I can. I'm going to make that my center. And I'm going to pull my protractor down so that it is in the center of the circle. And I'm going to draw a line. Let's go back over here. I'm going to draw a line extending from this center point to the edge of my circle. Just one line. Now at this point, I'm going to use that line I drew. That's my first part of the circle graph. I'm going to find 128 degrees, which is what I said that my food budget is 128 degrees. So I'm going to look at my circle graph, and I can see this is 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130. Well, I don't need 130, but I do need 128, which I know is right by 130, which is roughly right there. So I've made my circle, and now I'm going to take another line and connect it again from my center point and draw that line to that mark that I made. So this value is 128 degrees of my entire circle. If I can move my, I can move my compass, my protractor, out of the way, and I'm going to label this food. So right now you can see with my circle graph that this much of the budget was spent on food. And again, we're going to take a time out from the circle graph. We're going to go back to solving for the rest of the budget. So my second part of the budget was entertainment. And I'm going to go through the same process. $215 was spent on entertainment out of $1,000. My circle, again, is 360 degrees. That's the whole of a circle. It's 360 degrees. And I don't know what value of the circle that my money represents for entertainment, so I'm going to find that out. I'm multiplying by 360, cancels that out, brings my x down. Do the same thing to the other side. So 360 times 215, again with the calculator is fine today. And that equals 77,400 over 1,000. And then x is going to equal 77.4. Well, that's going to round down because 4 is less than 5. So x is going to be just 77. So again, I'm going to go back to my circle graph. And this is where it gets a little tricky this time because I'm going to work off of one of these lines. I'm going to take my protractor. I'm having a hard time with that today. And I'm going to rotate it so that I have, what did I say, 77 showing on my graph. So right now I've got it at almost there. 77 is right there. So I've got my 0 mark here, and this distance right here is 77. So I'm going to make my dot. I'm going to go down to my 0 right there. I'm going to get my line tool, and I'm going to connect again my center dot to my dot I made over here. And this is the entertainment. I'm going to put the value, the original value for entertainment, which was $215, and my food was $355. So far you can see this much money was spent on food and entertainment. Gives you a good visual. All right, back to solving. My venue. My venue was 173 over $1,000 total. Again, my circle is 360 degrees. And I don't know what the value of the circle is, of the portion of the circle. So I'm going to make that x. Multiply by 360, cancels this side out, leaves us with an x. Multiply by 360. 360 times 173 is 62,280 divided by 1,000. Equals 62.2. And again, it's going to round down to 62 because 2 is less than 5. So it's 62 degrees. So I'm going to go back to my circle graph. Bring my protractor back over. Line it back up in the center. Rotate it. And again, I'm looking for 62 degrees. So I've got 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I know that's 62 right there. Make my point, my line, by that 0. Whoops, oh, look at that. Just looking for that earlier. So then I can take my line and connect it to my dot. All right. So now I have, this was the venue for 173. Is that right? Yeah. So the venue is $173. But again, the venue is only 62 degrees of the whole circle. Next one, decorations. $67 over 1,000, not a lot of money, right? Over 360 160 multiplied by 360, cancels it out, leaves me with an x over here. Do the same thing to the other side. So I get 360 times 67, and that's 24,120 divided by 1,000. And that equals 24.1, and that's going to round down to 24 degrees. So I'm going to go back over here, bring my protractor with me, get it lined up on my line again. So I'm looking for 24 degrees. And again, I want that 24 degrees to show up right there on my line, 24 degrees, and there's a 0 line.